Welcome to Good Morning Football. The concert is still going on. And I think my co-hosts have joined. Wait, there's Nate, Kay, and Kyle. Guys, come on back.
Hey.
It was a fun scene backstage. It was great. It was it.
You know, was it sex, drugs, and rock and roll? It's hard when you're only doing one out of the three. Oh, man.
Woo! Kay, how's it feel to be Joan Jett for...
Quite a performance. And a halfway change. It's fine.
It.
I need some Quaaludes.
Has anybody heard
That's how you do it, I think.
Has anybody heard from our bosses out on the West Coast anyway?
Oh, yeah. They're on the table headbanging.
Good Morning Football is presented by Bass Pro Shops. We are live in New York City. How did you change so fast, mister?
That was it. Just a bandana off for me. That was it. Cool denim jacket from the Levi's store. I'm off.
Really went all in, right?
Yeah, real easy.
Lots to get to. Of course, Thursday Night Football is hours away, and it is time for the Lead Block.
Lead block!
I mean, our vocals are all warmed up. This is great. Let's welcome in Stacey Dale. Stacey, did you happen to see what just happened on television about 10 minutes ago? I'm hoping no.
Well, absolutely not. But listen, we're going to have a fun day here. The weather, we'll have some wind gusts. I'll say that later on today. But we're expecting the Green Bay Packers to come out and be their 3-0 selves. And I think for them, talking to Aaron Rodgers, I always appreciate you guys hearing from Aaron Rodgers because he always speaks the truth. And he essentially said this week, we have not met this standard offensively. They are currently the 23rd scoring offense in the NFL, tied for the 23rd scoring offense. They're averaging just about 19 points a game, and it's just not good enough. They're not happy with it. And as this offense continues to evolve, one of the big areas of struggle has been third downs. They are 9 of 36, 25% on third downs. And Aaron Rodgers said this week, we've been flat out bad in that category. And it has hurt them in two ways, getting balls to playmakers, footballs to playmakers, and the run game, which is the focal point this year for Matt LaFleur. They want to have that balance. But when you think about the playmakers, Rodgers said two guys need to be more involved, tight end Jimmy Graham and wide receiver Davante Adams. They only had, despite winning against the Broncos this past weekend, 5 combined targets. And I point out specifically Davante Adams. I mean, this is a guy that, guys, had 13 touchdowns a season ago. His head coach, Matt LaFleur, said this week, we know he's one of the premier receivers in this league, and we've got to get him the ball more. They've got to simply call more plays for Davante Adams. And the big difference for Davante Adams, who had only 4 targets on Sunday, this past Sunday, and has had just 21 targets this season, is that he's not being asked to win so many one-on-one matchups this year, given this new offense with Matt LaFleur, all the play action in the run game, as I mentioned and alluded to, but more design plays for him. But the bottom line is those plays have to be called for him in game. And the philosophy of Matt LaFleur is we're not going to force feed our receivers. I know, Nate Burleson, you'll appreciate that. We're not going to force feed guys. We're going to get it to the best available option. But you want to call plays for him right away as the number one progression because he is your best available option, at least in terms of his productiveness over the course of the last few years.
And they can certainly get it done against these corners for the Eagles side. Just 4 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers, but no interceptions for the MVP caliber quarterback. Stacey Dale's at Lambeau for all of the stuff going on over there before the game. We will, of course, hand it off to kickoff at 8 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network. Stacey, we'll talk to you in a bit. Yeah, I guess you didn't see her bit, guys.
No. Too bad. You missed out. Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Springsteen openly laughing at Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, everybody respects. I completely just embarrassed.
How about Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Springsteen opening for Dave Grohl?
Yeah,
what
really
concert
something.
is that?
I'll have what Jimmy's having.
What concert is that? Who's the person that watches our show that you most were like, I wonder if they're watching this right
respectful, like who?
now? I don't know.
Obama. Mark Winslow?
The commissioner is probably
Roger
like,
Goodell,
what's
sure.
happening here?
Yeah,
Right,
my children.
Talk about TNF. It's a really good game tonight to kick off week 4. Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, they're 2 quarterbacks who handle their team's offensive struggle a little bit differently. Let's say that. Which unit on the Packers or Eagles needs to play with a bigger sense of urgency to kick off week 4?
I'll jump right in with the Eagles secondary. You know, I get it that they haven't had much pass rush. You talked about it yesterday, Kay. That defensive line for the Eagles, only 2 sacks on the season. But it goes hand in hand with the secondary. The secondary, 29th in the league, giving up just under 300 yards a game. Like, that's easy money for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers who wants to throw the ball. It's Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, Avonte Maddox, and Ronald Darby. These guys are going to have to make some plays. And here's the thing. If your defensive line linebackers, if they're not getting to the quarterbacks, that means the pressure's on you to cover a little bit longer. The average play is 6 seconds. Maybe you got to cover for 10, especially versus a guy like Aaron Rodgers who can negotiate the pocket with his feet.
I would say, look, the Eagles' urgency is obviously there. It's there in the record. I called this a playoff game tonight. This could be the biggest game of Carson Wentz's career, and I really mean that. He's never played a playoff game. If you lose this game, you lay an egg on national TV, it's problems. But I look at Rodgers. I think Rodgers is wise enough to see the big picture. 3-0, you start thinking about, I want a home playoff game. I want home field advantage. And you don't get home field advantage by losing a week 4 at home. You can't lose that game. I just think, like, with Rodgers, the soundbite this week with, like, it's time for the offense. We know the defense can't carry us all the time. It reminds me of Dave Grohl. Let me tell you why. Dave Grohl could have made a living as the world's greatest drummer. Just could have kept drumming, found band after band, and would have been fine. He said, I'm not going to carry on like this. This will be easy. Let the front man, the guitarist, do all the work, and I'll just sit back here and drum. He said, no, I'm going to go up front. I'm going to start my second Hall of Fame band. Aaron Rodgers is no drummer. He's no bassist, no keyboardist. He's a front man. He could sit there, and the defense could carry the day, and Aaron Rodgers could have a fine season, and they'll go with the feather tattoos. They'll go 10-6, and they'll make the playoffs. But I think he's got bigger plans. Rodgers knows how long it's been. I think Rodgers wants to go 13-3. You got to go 4-0. I think the urgency there is for Rodgers with greater stakes.
Here's what's interesting to me. We already saw this Packers offense once on a Thursday night, opening week, and our takeaway was, they got to work out the kinks. Guess what? They haven't worked out the kinks. No. And Rodgers said it himself. I'd like to get Jimmy Graham and Davante Adams involved here. But I say it again, as I said at the start of the show, do you have to? Like, a win is a win.
Yeah.
You stack these W's, you beat another opponent in your conference, you start getting tiebreaker stuff for the playoffs. I wouldn't be in such a rush to press the panic button on this offense. I'm fine if they're winning games, and it will come, and it will gel, and I know that LaFleur and Rodgers are still getting to feel each other out a little bit. They're trying to figure this thing out. But to me, I have much more urgency about the offense in the Eagles and the defense of the Eagles than either unit of the Packers, who right now seem to be just fine. They're getting W's, and they're not lighting up the fantasy football scoreboards, but they're getting what matters most, the standings, wins.
When you hear 10 drops for the Eagles this season, and you hear 4 fumbles, and you hear that they were points away from having an entirely different season so far, as a wide receiver, what does that tell you? As an offensive player?
That we got to step up. The skill players have to make plays.
What needs to happen? Like, what's wrong? What's going on? Why is there so many miscues?
You guys are getting in the funk. You know, when you have a wide receiver dropping balls, it's all mental. It's like a batter that I can't hit that fastball, or a three-point shooter that just can't find the rim. You know, it's just the wide receivers making plays. And it's up to the team collectively. And like I mentioned in the first hour, you know what? Maybe it's time for Carson Wentz to challenge his team. And, you know, it's good to high-five people and give them hugs, but sometimes you got to be a little bit of a, you know,
all right, we all laughed at the Aguilar clip, and Aguilar was class gentleman all the way. That's an embarrassing moment when someone on television on the news says, yeah, I caught a baby, unlike Aguilar. You've been in that spot as a receiver. I mean, at some point, do you not just say, okay, well, I'll give you tickets to a game? Does it affect you emotionally that people are like, this wide receiver crew really lost the game for us?
Let's not forget how their season ended last year.
Yeah,
Alshon with a worst drop in the Superdome, gone. More drops here. Wentz is playing well. Wentz is doing his job. He's healthy. He's delivering. These guys are letting him down.
Yeah, and he needs to step up. I feel like Aguilar needs to step up. If Alshon Jeffrey is completely healthy, he needs to as well. Zach Ertz is completely reliable. But like I said before, it's not just on the individual. Guys need to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah, this team is way too good and talented to be 1-3, but we'll see how it shakes out at Lambeau.
Don't you think, Kay, that I am the feather man? Don't you think they're going to find that Philly guy if they lose tonight, the Aguilar guy, and try to get a sequel going? They always try to get the second video. I bet he's got it locked and loaded.
I just think what says and screams urgency more than a man stopping from rescuing children in time to insult your wide receiver core of your home team?
Throwing babies out of a fire.
It's go time right now on Thursday.